Good morning, little children. Okay, well, today we are going to do our final piece of big writing for P6. And what we're going to do is we're going to complete what you've already started. And I'm really impressed. I've been really impressed with the writing you have done so far. So I'm excited to see what you're going to produce today. So our learning intention, our learning outcome is to write a story based on the characters and setting you already have. Stories usually come in 3 parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end. And the beginning is the setting, the scene, the things that you have done already, the where it's set and what the characters are like. You've already done all of that. So your job now is to do the middle and the end. Now, if we take a story like Cinderella, the beginning of Cinderella, setting the scene is explaining who she is, where she lives, who she lives with. Okay? Then the middle would be the fairy godmother, the dressing up for the ball, going to the ball, and running away from the ball. All of those things would be in the middle. And we're left with this, oh no, life is going to be terrible for Cinderella and the prince will never be able to find her. But then the ending would include the golden slipper, or the glass slipper it is, and them finding each other and eventually marrying. So what happens in the middle is that's where most of the plot lies. And it takes us to a point, usually, where something goes wrong. So in the case of Cinderella, the thing that goes wrong is she has to run away from the ball at midnight. And then the ending brings about a resolution. Now, most stories work best with a happy ending. But if you don't want yours to have a happy ending, that's perfectly fine. Okay. So the happy ending in Cinderella is the marriage. Now you've already got a beginning, so you just need a middle and an end. So that's what you're going to be working on. So you need to understand the learning intention and the success criteria. You need to understand the purpose of your writing. You need to think through or discuss ideas and plan. You might want to do that with somebody at home. You might find that there's somebody that can advise you or help you out if you want to talk things through. So your plot. This is your success criteria, complete my writing with a middle and an end of the story. I can use different adjectives, adverbs, descriptive phrases effectively to help the readers visualise the scene. Okay? So you need to have strong vocabulary for your plot as well. You can use techniques such as similes, metaphors, onomatopoeia to aid the description. And if you want to, as has been mentioned before, you can use the weather to good effect. Now, we're going to read through an extract that we looked at last week, but with a different aim in mind. So this time we're going to read through and think about what might happen next. Because this could help you, if you haven't thought, I think a lot of you probably have already thought through your storyline, but if you haven't, this can help you. So, what might happen next? Let's read. The school. At the bottom of the hill, exactly a mile from his house, he turned the corner and saw the school in front of him. It wasn't really a nice building. Single story, squat, yellowish stone. Nothing stood out except the tall flagpole that would ring like a clock chime when the rope slapped it on windy days. Today, in the still air, the pole was silent. Taking a shortcut through a hedge, Jim walked over the football field, dew leaping from the toes of his shoes, grasshoppers jumping out of his path. Closer to the school now, walking past the buses, yellow as pollen, watching the students and teachers, the impatient parents in the carpool lane. Jim waved hello to a few of the kids, but he was still lost in his thoughts. He was glancing at a nearby classroom, Mr. Carter's math classroom. Walking through the cool halls now, Jim smelled fresh paint and girls' perfume and those weird biology lab smells. He got a drink at the fountain and headed for homeroom. So what might happen next? I'm going to say that Jim needs to meet somebody. Jim needs to have a conversation with somebody. Or he needs to see something that has happened. But something needs to happen. Something fairly dramatic needs to happen now. To engage the reader so that Jim's character is taken to a new level. So I'm saying that we're ready now, we're ripe for something to go wrong. We're ripe for Jim to hear bad news, for Jim to get himself in trouble, for Jim to see something happen. We're ready for that. And then, how is that going to be resolved? Will Jim resolve it? Will somebody resolve it for Jim? What will happen? Okay, so that's what you need to be thinking about with your plot. And as you write, you need to understand the learning intention and success criteria. Continue to visualise. If you want to, you can use a planning grid or a mind map to organise ideas. You can look back at the model text, although in this case it's not necessarily going to help particularly because it doesn't have the middle and ending. Look at your planning grid or mind map, check your technical target, stop and check that writing makes sense. Remember who your audience is. Okay, so now it's your turn to write a middle and ending of the story. Now, in terms of your timing, I don't mind when you do this. Some of you will be excited to get it done and you'll want to do it straight away. That's great. Others of you might want to spend more time on the planning. So try to visualize what's going to happen, and if you want to, you can use a mind map. I've done a mind map here, but it's blank because I'm not sure how you might want to set that up. If you want to put your character's name in the middle, but since you have 3 characters, you might want to make 3 mind maps with your characters' names in the middle. It's completely up to you. You might not want to use a mind map. You might just want to take notes. Or you might even want to just get started. So, once you start writing, give detailed information of what is happening with each character, use different adjectives, use the techniques, and if you want to, you can include the weather. During your reading, you can pause, read over your work. Have you been using your planning? Have you met your technical targets? Does your writing make sense? Is your writing meeting the success criteria? Do you need to look back? And once you are done, check to see if you achieved your technical targets. Ask somebody at home to have a read over and make any changes and improvements that you have found, and finally publish your writing. Okay, you can also read over your own work carefully, and when you are checking your own work, you do need to do it slowly and carefully because it's dead easy to miss your own mistakes. Mark it against the criteria. What did you do well, and what might your next steps be? Okay, I'm really looking forward to reading these. Any questions, you can let me know.